Some of us struggle coming up with new ideas to work on. Today we are going to talk about the opposite problem, when you have so many ideas but need to figure out which idea to jump into next. Hey word nerds, happy Monday. So today we're going to be talking about one of those questions that we get all the time in our live chats, and it is something that I personally struggle with pretty much constantly, and that is figuring out which of your ideas you should be working on next. I know for me, sometimes I just have a dozen or more ideas that all sound interesting, that all have different bits and pieces that could be really, really great stories, and I just can't figure out which one I should be jumping into next. Which one makes the most sense, which one I'm most ready to work on. How do you figure out which story is the right story for your next story? This probably won't be a surprise to you guys, but there is no cut and dry answer on working this out. It comes down to a bunch of different factors, and in the end, gut instinct. For me, I like to look at which story is the most ready, where do I have the most characters and plot points and world building done. This is probably going to end up being the story that is the easiest to jump into, even if there is still a bunch of legwork that needs to be done before I start writing chapter 1. You might also want to look into current trends to figure out which of your ideas makes the most sense. If you are self-publishing and think you can publish fairly quickly, looking into what is currently super popular can be helpful. Versus if you are traditional publishing and are looking to query this story, this might not be the right time to write it if it is super popular right now, because by the time it gets published, it may no longer be popular. Of course, there is no right answer in this at all. There is no way to predict trends or what is going to be or stay popular, but it is worth looking into and trying to figure out which makes the most sense for you and your author career. The other factor that can be really hard to balance is excitement. Sometimes you really just need to let yourself write the story that your heart is just so excited to get into, but at the same time, if it is a brand new, shiny idea and you haven't really worked anything out yet and don't really know where the story is going, just having a scene or two or a chapter kind of worked out in your head probably isn't enough to fully commit to writing a full manuscript right now. Even though you are super excited about the idea, you may want to let that idea simmer a little bit longer while you work on something else. This way, hopefully the idea will be a little bit more ready to go by the time you want to jump in and start writing it. Of course, whichever idea you do pick, you absolutely want to be excited about it in some way, shape, or form. If there's nothing about this idea that excites you, even if it makes the most sense and you have an entire outline, that is not the story you want to be jumping into, because you will lose interest very quickly, or your lack of enthusiasm will translate into what you are writing. It's not going to be the right path for you. Ultimately, your best bet may be looking at all of these factors and finding the story that falls into the sweet spot of having a little bit of everything: idea, enthusiasm, and just good timing. If you do pick an idea and very quickly start losing enthusiasm and think you may be making a mistake, it is okay to switch out. Whereas if you get to that midpoint and you're just kind of dragging on finishing that book, I absolutely recommend seeing it through and getting to the end. You do learn so much by finishing stories, no matter how distracting shiny new ideas may be. It is worth seeing it through and getting to the end while letting that new idea simmer so it is ready to go when its time comes. So that's it for me today. Don't forget to join us on Sunday for our next live chat at 7:30 Eastern Time. In the meantime, happy reading, happy writing, and I'll see you next time.